Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're talking about the guitar that I never expected to buy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about this guitar right here. This is my Gibson ES-125T from 1959 according to the serial number. Me buying this guitar was almost entirely an accident. I went into a guitar shop with no intention of buying it, and here we are 5, 6, 7 years later, however long it's been. So let's talk about it. First things first, this stems from a line of guitars by Gibson that were produced from 1941 to 1970. It is the ES-125 line. It came about in 1941 to replace the ES-100 line, and it was supposed to be kind of a student archtop electric guitar, but a lot of people ended up playing them, including an early B.B. King, a young Stevie Ray Vaughan, Tracy Chapman, and even all the way up to Marcus Mumford from Mumford & Sons. The original ES-125 was the thicker-bodied version, meaning that it had the kind of typical width that you'd find on like a dreadnought acoustic guitar. Then in the mid-1950s, they introduced the thin line or T version. Now this is not a typical thin line in that it's got a center block of wood and is actually a semi-hollow. It is still fully hollow under there. They later added options for double P90s instead of just the single P90 like I have. And then they added one that had a Florentine cutaway so you could have access to the upper frets. And they also added another color, which is the color you saw that Tracy Chapman had in that kind of cherry burst instead of the typical two-tone tobacco burst. Now, like most Gibsons in that era, specifications varied somewhat throughout the years of its production, as well as the build quality was always a little bit kind of hit or miss. I had the opportunity to play this exact model, the 125T with the single pickup, no cutaway, that a buddy of mine bought, and it just didn't feel the same. And even he agreed with me on it that mine felt better. His just had some kind of weird quirks to it, and he ended up selling it. But this is my history with it. I believe it was February or March of 2018. I was seriously dating my now wife, and we were kind of in the midst of trying to decide, should we get married? Should we not? What do we do? We're both in college. Is this stupid? All the typical questions we got to go through. And we went into Salt Lake, and we were going to go do some other stuff there, but there was this guitar shop there that I'd always wanted to check out. And I walked into this shop with her, and I looked around, and I was there for probably 10 or 15 minutes before I looked into the corner and saw this. And immediately, it was like that scene in Harry Potter when he picks up the wand and his hair blows back, and it just was like this almost spiritual pull towards this instrument that was just sitting in a corner. The crazy thing about it was that at the time, the neck had actually been separated from the body. It wasn't broken or anything, it was just separated. So with that, it didn't actually have any strings on it, and I didn't even get the chance to play it. But I remember walking over to it, and the wooden bridge was taped to the front of it with a piece of painter's tape. And I remember walking over to it and just kind of like gently grabbing it and just, like I said, feeling this pull towards it. And I remember holding it, turning to my wife across the room, and she's looking at, I don't even know what, because I was in my own world. And I remember mouthing to her from across the room, I need this. And immediately I took it up to the cashier and I said, hey, how much are you guys selling this for? Because it didn't have a price tag on it. And this was on a Saturday, so the cashier said, well, that's actually something that our owner has brought in. He's not in on Saturdays, so we'd have to talk to him to see what he wants to sell it for. He's going to want to fix it up first as well. So here's his card. Call him on Monday, and you can ask him. So I took it back to the wall, took some pictures of it, wrote down the information on it, and went about the rest of my day. But I could not stop thinking about it. And I went home and I looked it up and saw that they were going for, at the time on Reverb, around $1,800 to $2,200. And I was a college student, and I was like, geez, that's a lot even for me. I don't know how to justify that. But nonetheless, at the time, I worked at a guitar shop. And so I called the luthier at the guitar shop and I said, hey, Kevin, I found this guitar. This is what it looks like is wrong with it. I don't even know if it works. It looks like the neck is just, separated. Sight unseen, how much would you think that it would cost to put the work in to see if I could buy it without actually waiting for the guy to fix it? And he said, sight unseen, if it's just that, and since I know you and you're a buddy, I think I could do it for around $200. I said, okay, that's good to know. I waited till Monday came around and I called the owner and I said, hey, I was in there on Saturday, told him the whole spiel. And I said, how much are you planning on selling it for? And he said, well, it's going to take me about 3 months to get around to fixing it. And I plan on selling it for $1,600. And I said, how much would you sell it for as is? He said, as is, I'd let it go for $800. And I said, okay, I want it. And I gave him my credit card info over the phone. And I said, I'm not able to get back up to Salt Lake till Saturday. Is that okay? He said, yeah, absolutely. I'll hold it for you. So then on Saturday, my then girlfriend and I went up to Salt Lake and brought it back home. Even at the time, staring down $1,000, $800 for the guitar, $200 for the repair, it was a little scary. Like I said, I was a college student studying music. So, that's about the worst financial position anyone can be in. But I took it in to Kevin. Kevin put a week or two in on it, made sure it was glued up, took apart all the tuning keys and oiled them up, made sure they were working fine. One of them was a little bent, so he straightened it out as best he could, made sure the electronics were working, and I got it back. And I remember he hadn't even really played it because he knew that he wanted me to play it, which was one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me. So I took it out and I plugged it into a nice little clean Fender tube amp, and just immediately... it just sang. It just did something. And to this day, anyone that plays it has loved it. It just has this mojo to it. And I can't even This is my house fire guitar, right? If my house is on fire, this is the one I'm going back for. I play it every single day without fail. The closest I've come to having another favorite guitar is the Yamaha Revstar that I just got 2 months ago. And I love that one, and I play that one every day. So at this point, those are my two main guitars. And I have a ton of great guitars. I've got a Gibson Les Paul. I've got the Gibson ES-335. I've got the Telecaster. I've got a Martin Dreadnought. I've got the guitars that everyone says you should have. And yet for some reason, this guitar is a piece of me. It's more than just a piece of wood with some strings on it. It is a part of me. I've written some of my personal favorite songs on it for both me and my band. And I just can't ever stop playing it. Now, at the time I was studying jazz guitar, so I thought, great, this is a perfect shoe-in as a jazz guitar, and I was always afraid to play it in, rock bands. And to be fair, in one of the main bands that I've played in, it doesn't have the upper neck reach, and it can't handle distortion very well, so it doesn't quite work for that. But I've discovered that in my own personal solo project, it's perfect. It does everything I need it to do, and I don't even really need any effects on it. And someone who really illustrated this to me was actually James Bay. James Bay has an Epiphone Century, which is, I would say, essentially Epiphone's version of this. And for him, it's his main guitar. And in interviews with him, he's talked about how he saw it and it was weird, and he played it in the guitar shop in New York, and it just kind of seemed to speak to him. And he attributes that to the fact that while it is an electric guitar, technically, you still use thicker strings with a wrapped G string, so you can't really bend it, and it pulls out new challenges and new things that are kind of trickier, where you have this electric sound but this kind of acoustic feel. And that's one of the reasons that he fell in love with it. The other thing is, while I've said that it has an acoustic feel, I would 100% say that this is by far the most comfortable guitar I own. And I think that I have ever played. I've always thought if I ever were at the point where I got a custom guitar from, Gibson or Fender or wherever, there's part of me that would go to the factory and say, is there any way to make a solid body electric that feels like this? Because there's just, like I said, it's the most comfortable guitar I've ever played. The neck feels smooth. I love the old nitrocellulose finish that just feels nice and glossy. It just has this mojo to it, like I said. And I don't think that I personally ever expected that this would be my favorite guitar, because by most standards, it's not a sexy Strat. It's not a shredding SG. It's not the gold top Les Paul. It's not the thing that everyone chases, but it is without a doubt the most comfortable guitar I've ever played. And it, like I said, I have a genuine metaphysical, spiritual, astrological, whatever you want to call it. This is the guitar that proves there's more to life than just where we're at. This is not a simulation, because a simulation couldn't make this up. But I want to hear from you guys. What is your guitar? What is the guitar that you have that crazy connection with that you never expected? Or, are you still looking for it? Would you ever buy one of these? Are there any other 125 players out there? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Mac Wright. Please like and subscribe. It does help out the channel. Go make someone else's day better. It will make your day better. Again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you around.